great to be here. Great to be here. Get in touch for any booking inquiries, for any of my music talents. Right, so I'm here. So I'm Adam Tillner-Smith. I work for Wise Business based in London, and I'm here to talk to you about designing for trust. Now, whilst many of you may know Wise already for some of their consumer offerings, I instead work on designing for sole traders and small businesses worldwide. Be aware of some of the people around you in the audience to your left and right, and have a think. How confident would you be, say, lending them a book for the day? How about letting them look after your pet? What about letting them manage your financial information? At Wise, I spend my time trying to understand these dynamics on how trust is both broken and built, and trying to answer this key question of how does trust develop within a fintech product. This isn't just thinking about the individual relationship that someone has with a product, but also that shared relationship of an entire team working within a business together. And by designers having a really good understanding of how trust is built, it does so much to understand how customers are both engaged and retained. Now, I'm not sure if any of you have sent any money internationally before. The first time you do it can be a bit of a scary experience. You type in how much you want to send, and then choose who you want it to send to. And off it goes. But these things can take hours, even days, for it to fully be transferred. And it leaves you with the big question, where's my money? Is it lost in the ether? Is it going to get to the other side? And we really need to be aware of these scary moments and try to find ways to put users' minds at ease. And trust can be a really useful tool to help do that. Now, as we all know, trust is not built overnight. There's been many talks we've had earlier this morning talking about this much longer journey for how trust is built. And it can be both broken and developed. This was an example that was actually brought up by Chris this morning, where we had to send out an email to our customers to explain that we were putting up some of our fees because of certain things happening around the globe. Now, for some customers, they were really outraged by this and really surprised, being like, we use you for your great fees. Why are you putting them up? And this shows where trust can be broken in some moments. However, in Chris's case, he really appreciated the transparency we were showing of being really open, really honest about why things were changing. Other times, sometimes things go really well, where I can see all of how our hard efforts are paying off, where I'm talking to a business customer and they say, oh no, I use you for everything. You're my main international bank account. And it shows how they really trust us and they've moved away from some of the traditional banks. Now, here at Wise Business, we had our research team go out and talk to some of our customers to try and understand what are some of those things that really what really retains those customers over a longer period of time. And I've got a few really interesting insights which will hopefully change your perspective on how you can better design towards trust. Because this is the main one. Price was not the enduring competitive advantage for business customers. So what does that mean? That means that they might have heard about us through a friend, and they'll be like, come join Wise, they're amazing for their rates. And they sign up, they start using us, but actually, over the longer period of time, price is not going to be the main thing that keeps them there. In fact, they need the strong basis of trust, ensuring that payments are arriving to the right people and on time, followed by convenience, us trying to help them save time on admin costs, and then finally, we've got trust as really the icing on the cake. And this was some amazing insights that really changed certainly my mindset for how we're prioritized and how we're designing for our customers, with this new mindset of how do we design for trust? And this, with the new mindset, is trying to help us push forward of reaching our goal of being the one international bank account for business needs. And by better understanding trust, it's really going to help us expand our global reach from our 400,000 customers that operate globally, allowing individuals to send money to up to 70 different countries. But what do we learn? What do we learn from this new change in mindset and for how I'm changing my design process? Here are 3 takeaways that you can take into your own companies, regardless if they're consumer-facing or they're more focused on business. First one is design to educate. This is all about locating those high-risk moments. We talked about when you're sending money for the first time. That's an exact example of a high-risk moment. And once you found them, how can you find better opportunities to educate, to put their mind at ease? Now, this is an example that is a great example of one of those high-risk moments. So business owners have the need to invite their team members to their Wise account. But actually, they really need a lot of oversight and control to ensure that they're scaling with safety and security. So from this need, we developed something called default roles, which we have our lovely 5 roles up here. And it allows them to invite certain team members, employees, and you can assign certain privileges to what they can view and manage through these default 5 roles. But actually, from talking to them and understanding how they were using them, they really wanted an extra level of granularity. So from that, we've been recently developing custom roles. And this does exactly that. It allows a lot more granularity to choose exactly which permissions you want to be turning on and off. And it's all about confidence, giving those business owners confidence to really understand, and make sure they know when they're triggering something, this is going to be the impact. Because if there's massive disparity between what they're triggering and what happens, that not only can have a massive impact on their trust within us, but it could have massive financial implications for their business. And through designing this piece of work, we were very much aware of this can become so overwhelming for individuals. We're trying to explain everything that Wise can do within 1 page. And it brings up this bigger question of what role can designers and people working in the space play to try and help guide and educate people who maybe aren't sure of some of the terms and processes that relate to finance, and it's all about reducing financial anxiety, which can be so prevalent within fintech right now. And through our design process of thinking about how we're designing for something like custom roles, we had the initial thought and the mindset of what does a customer need to do to confidently trigger a permission? And we took this mindset, we started doing some comprehension testing, showing customers, here are some of the permissions, but without any context of what they do. And we asked them, so what do you think they do? And they very, very much, we learned very quickly, is that they were really unaware of some of the full implications of what they did. One example might be you're turning on the ability to manage your account, but there actually could be certain investment features that are triggered behind that, and the business owner really wasn't aware of it. So we actually had to change our mindset from what information does a customer need through to how do we better educate our customer. And by going away, exploring different iterations, exploring how we're presenting this information, and also what is the information, we were able to work very closely with customers to try and work out what is the best route to help them get more confidence and have better education around what this does. And from the testing, we actually found that customers really took the time to read this information, which, as many of us probably know, is customers don't always read everything. But because it was such a high-risk moment, they're dealing with, it's their baby, it's their business, they were taking the time reading it all the way through. Because with this, we need to be thinking about, we're designing for those edge cases where there is someone brand new to the business, they've only met them a week, and they're suddenly inviting them to their business, which they've worked so hard to actually build. And we need to keep in mind, we talked about Dieter Rams's simplicity in some of the previous talks, and channeling good principles of design. And actually, more information does not equal more trust. It's like, how do we find that balance of simplicity with providing the correct amount of content to customers. And it's all about creating tiers of information. It's about letting those customers choose how much they want to dive into the information for them to decide on how much, and if they actually have huge amount of confidence in what they're turning on. And this is what we ended up with, where we have the first layer, which is the title, followed by the bullet points with a description explaining a little bit more about what a certain permission does. And then if they want to dive even further, they have the hyperlink to gather the real depth that they actually needed. And this is currently where we ended up with all the tooltips that you can use the drawer to gather that information if they so desire. And we were throughout the entire design process, we were able to see the confidence that they gained from having this level of information and then not being left in the dark, and how much they trusted not only the feature, but that can do a lot surrounding their trust within us as a company. But it is worth noting that customers can be forgiving with poor user experience. If there's an icon that's slightly too big, or there's a color that's maybe the slightly wrong shade, they may forgive this. But with something like this, with a real high-risk moment, if quality is not there, that mindset can change pretty quickly, and trust can be broken. So from this, we're choosing to roll this out with a beta group first, to actually do some testing, to take our time with it before we do the much broader rollout to the rest of the world. The second insight I wanted to share about designing for trust is promoting with care, and this is all about feature discoverability. Now, take a moment to think, what exciting features have you found recently? Were they promoted to you? Or did you happily stumble across them? I think we can all admit, working within this space, we all have a problem with feature discoverability. Every team is doing amazing work, building amazing things. It's all really exciting, but the customers just don't know about it. We've all been there. At Wise, we're certainly the same. Whilst we're known for being a money transfer service, we now offer things like cards and integrations to other applications, but customers still aren't aware of this. And this leads to problems like this, where you have all these teams really excited about what they're working on, and then they're all throwing it on the homepage at the same time. So it's the first time you've come in, you're really excited, you've just signed up, and then you're being promoted 2 features at the same time, and there's a huge amount of information in this place when you come in. It can be so overwhelming and so damaging to that initial impression of the product and the company. And Malin touched upon it earlier with this morning's talk. We use the work of Launchpad to really try and streamline this work and try and think, how can we promote what we're offering in a better, more bite-sized way so we're not overwhelming customers straight away. And this led to, as Malin showed earlier, this amazing, much more streamlined version of the homepage. And it means we're really taking our time to show what you can actually do in product. And that's it, about bite-sized, consistent feature discovery, and it's all about creating a persistent relationship with customers. And with this work, the amazing thing of it is it's all to do with how do we get teams to better collaborate together around this. And from that, we've been able to provide guidelines on how to use Launchpad. And also, we've created working groups where if there's a team and they want to promote their new feature they've built, they can actually go and talk with a number of individuals who know how to use these guidelines, so we're not restricting teams' creativity in this space. And this is a step towards building better personalization around the user. By showing that we better understand some of the pain points, some of their needs, they're really going to appreciate and realize that we understand what it's like to be a business. The final thing that we've learned is redefining engagement. Now, many of you have been involved in user interviews, talking to customers, but have you ever thought and reflected on the ways that you're engaging with these customers? Are there other ways of doing it? Because by questioning how we're outreaching to customers, we can find new ways to understand where trust is both built and also damaged. Here are 4 ways that we've started to implement within our teams for how we're questioning how we can better outreach to our customers to find new insights to help our design process. First one, we've had the amazing Jadine that's recently joined our team, and she's a customer support specialist. She's someone who spent day in, day out talking to our business customers, hearing when things maybe haven't gone to plan, and maybe other times where it has. And she's been amazing to really change our mindset within the team, and she has such a good empathetic understanding of some of our customers. And when I'm working on a new piece of design and I just need a soundboard just to hear what she thinks, she's been a great person to have in the room. And I'd highly recommend, within your own teams to think about how you can have better relationships with your CS experts, your people talking to your customers. Second thing we've implemented is, this was a couple of months ago, just grabbing a beer, having some pizza with the customers, bringing them into the office. And I think we've all been a bit fatigued with Zoom over the last few years. And moments like this really, make me appreciate moments where you're face-to-face, you're in a room, and when I'm there talking to a customer and hearing about their stories and how they enjoy using us, but also where some of those problems are within the product, it's certainly helped my design process, and I could see it helping so many others within this picture. Beta groups, we touched upon this earlier, making sure that we're taking our time with some of our high-risk moments, and we're doing we're showing this work to some of our customers to make sure, is this really meeting what you need? Do we need to be refining this before we're doing this much broader rollout? Finally, we all used to having these more formal interactions with customers, but actually what other informal ways are there of doing this? If you have the right relationship with certain individuals and they're happy to share their information with you, you can, some of our people at Wise have just been able to reach out to some of those customers really quickly to hear, hey, we've just dropped this new feature, it'd be great if you could check it out. What are your thoughts? And it's just one of those other steps of getting close to the users to understand them. And the thing we've really learned is they really appreciate these incremental improvements when they're being brought along the journey, when they're working with us within the design process. They really appreciate just hearing how we're trying to tackle some of the problems that they face. And when they actually see this go live in product and they're seeing these incremental improvements within the product, they really appreciate it, and it can really increase trust within the business and them using us. So, to recap, what are some of the things that you can take away from this and apply them within your own companies? We've got designing to educate. It's about identifying those high-risk moments and then trying to find moments to educate and opportunities. Second point, promoting with care. How do we have a better, consistent relationship with how we promote what we're offering? The final part is redefining engagement. What are some of the ways that we're reaching out to our customers right now? How can we better reflect on how we do this? Are there any other ways that we can learn from them? I hope you can take some of these points away and apply them into your own companies, regardless if they're for consumer or for businesses, and hopefully we can work together to try and get customers to really trust us. Thank you very much.
Wow. Awesome, Adam. It was really great. I'm going to jump right into some questions. The first one is, what's your opinion on the idea behind Bitcoin that trust can be replaced with decentralized technology, is there still a place in the future for centralized institutions of trust, like a big bank like us, or will the blockchain eventually take over everywhere?
That's the ultimate question. It's a big one.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there are, in theory, there's so much promise with blockchain technology and how it's going to replace some of our traditional ways of working, and there can be so much that can all be shared on the ledger that can improve things like trust. So, in theory, potentially it could be hugely transformative to improving trust for organizations, but we'll just have to see with time.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we have a new one. We are discussing customer trust. Do you have an opinion on building employee trust to a company, especially on trust on job security and psychological safety? Many times these are compromised to please clients.
Could you repeat that one again?
Sure. I was also like, whoa. So we're discussing customer trust. Do you have an opinion on building employee trust, especially on trust on job security? So I think this is regarding internal.
Yeah, internal. I think, well, yeah, it depends on how much transparency they want to have within the company, and if they want to be, they really, in certain situations should be upfront about how they are doing as a company. And if, there's been a lot of layoffs recently within the fintech space, and that's, it's really up to the company on how they want to be tackling, new things happening within the market. And places like Wise, they are fairly transparent with the employees of like how things are actually going from a business perspective. And we've opted for just going with being more transparent, but it's, every company is different in how they want to deal with it.
Absolutely. Do we have any questions here on site? If so, we have one question there.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for your presentation. I just have a quick question. You talk about education. So I would like to know, how do you manage information density, especially when you have to read through stuff, and accessibility? Thank you.
Yeah, great question. And that's when we're exploring how we should be educating our customers, you need to find that balance on how much is too much. There has to be a real back and forth where, we're starting off with showing them with initial concept, gathering some feedback, and then we're working with the same group to show them multiple variations, trying to work out, where they're being more drawn towards. And that's just gathering feedback, but then there is, doing more kind of usability studies on how people are moving through this work, how much time it's going to take them. And then to the point about accessibility, just trying to stick with, are the colors accessible? Is there going to be too much content placed in certain kind of paragraphs? And trying to just abide by best practices. But yeah, it's a real art and a bit of a science in terms of how much to actually be showing, and you're only going to really know that through thorough testing processes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I think that was easier than the Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So thanks a lot, Adam. This was really incredible. Give it up to Adam, please.
Cheers. Thanks.